wish you a warm welcome to the second webinar in a row in a series of webinars where we will talk about family business. My name is Ljiljana Babić and I'm proud to be the moderator of today's webinar. As I have already mentioned, this is our second webinar on family business. The first was held at the end of 2020, and then we made a general introduction of the family business and what makes this type of business so unique. Today, we go deeper into the matter and into the essence about the importance of choosing the right successful successor. These webinars are held by Professor Dr. Andrej Vizjak. For those who do not know Professor Vizjak, he has leadership experience at the highest management level in multinational companies. He is the author of 25 books. Today, with his wife Sonia, he has his own family business, AV Consulting, where he's focusing his tremendous experience in consultancy on international strategies and organization, family-owned companies, change management. Around 70% of the family businesses in Southeast region are run by the first generation. The fact is that they are getting older, times are changing, and it is very important for them who will inherit their business. How to identify a suitable successor? Do you have a suitable successor? How to delegate successfully in a family business? How to separate private and business life? The advices, answers, and possible solution to this question we will now hear from Andrej's approximately 40-minute presentation. After that, all your questions, thoughts, and experiences are more than welcome, so please share them with us. Dear Andrej, if you are ready, the stage and the screen is all yours, so we can start. Thank you very much.
Hello, truly from Southeast Europe, but hello also all the business partners of management partners in the Middle East who are also watching these webinars. So I will make a few slides about these topics, but I'm even more keen on the question and answers in the discussion to cover this, I would say, sensitive topic of the succession. So I just share my screen with you. Okay. Ljiljana, you can see my presentation, yeah?
Yeah, everything is fine.
So the criteria for choosing a successor in the company, I will structure in the following way. First, a little bit the background. From Southeast Europe, I know best Slovenia because I am a native Slovenian and I have consulted there, but also Germany, where I spent most of my life. To compare, I would say, economy where family-owned business like Germany are in the 5th generation, with a relatively fresh new economy where there's still a lot of companies from the 1st generation, like Southeast Europe, but also in the Middle East. The second part will be the values and vision of the family business, which is kind of starting point, because it depends what is your strategy and you need for this strategy the right leadership, and also the successor has to be suitable for this chosen strategy. And then the third are more technical criteria, what you have to know to run a business. So you cannot just earn this by being a son or daughter of the founder. So you need some professional criteria for managing a business. And then as a summary, I will summarize 4 alternatives for selecting a successor, and then some practical tips for your next steps. So the goal is both sides. So I will address you as MBA students or alumni who are in the position to become a suitable successor, But I will address also the founders and owners of companies who have sent their children to the MBA to prepare them for the succession. So did they have selected the right one, and did they choose it according to the right criteria? So the first background of this, so there is an agency in Slovenia, it's called Spirit, which is doing this kind of statistics of family-owned businesses for the country. And today they say that 66% of Slovenian companies are run by the first generation, only 28% by the second, and only 6% by the third. So since 1991, many family businesses have established in Slovenia, and now their owners are reaching retirement. So the retirement age is usually between 60 and 70 years. Very seldom we found some companies where the founder is still there. So that's why, so one example, for example, in Slovenia is Medex, the company producing propolis. So the founder is more than 80 years old and he's still working and regularly employed, but this is a very seldom phenomenon. The owners of family businesses in Slovenia are driven by desire to one day hand over their companies to the next generation, which is what 2/3 of entrepreneurs do according to these surveys. According to the survey, 34% of Slovenian companies plan to transfer the succession in near future. 43% said that they are already actively involved in planning the transfer, and 60% of them are still not actively, but they have to do it. We analyzed a similar survey also in the Middle East, and here also more than 55% of the surveyed family business owners say that succession planning, succession is for them one major priority. Okay, now so what are the key issues in choosing a successor? So how to make sure that successors gain as much as possible valuable knowledge and experience, which will enable the comprehensive development of the family business in the future. Then how to delegate successfully in a family business. And then how to separate private and business life. Why am I the right person to answer these questions? So I can give you both the international and Southeast European perspective. I've done a lot of consulting projects in the family business worldwide. So my largest project was Bertelsmann. It's one of the top 10 largest German privately owned companies, $22 billion revenues, the leading European media company. So I was employed there as an executive vice president, and I worked directly with the family there. But I also worked for other companies like Conrad Electronics, where I helped the next generation to develop. Recently, I worked in Germany for 2 other companies, Peters and Martin Mayer in Bavaria. These are much younger generations now. So with 35 years of age, the successors have started to run their companies. So similar work I've done also in Slovenia, and I'm doing now in the Middle East. The long-term cooperation from generation to generation. In Conrad Electronic, for example, I worked 10 years as an advisor, at the beginning as advisor of the father, the founder, and later as advisor of the son. I hold an institute for family business in Germany, in Ingolstadt, at the Ingolstadt University, and I cooperate with the university in St. Gallen, which is worldwide probably the most famous for these family business studies. I have done some successes, but I have done also some failures. So I think this is also something which you have to experience to give good advice. So now we come to the criteria for choosing a successor. And the first criteria is for me the analysis of the values and the vision of the family business before I go and help to select the successor. So there are different alternative values. There are some people who work to live. The opposite is they live to work. There are some people who prefer personal consumptions, and others who prefer business success. Some people who look more for security, that everything is sure in life. Others are more entrepreneurial and take the risk. Connection with the local environment is for some important. For others, desire to discover the world. Some people believe in themselves, so usually the founders would do. Others, they believe in the profession. For some, priority is the development of family members, and for others is the development of the best workers. Some say all children are entitled to an equal share, and others say share in ownership and decision-making is acquired through hard work. Some companies say the eldest son will be the successor, and others say the successor must prove her and his ability. So we have to be very clear on those values before we make the decision whom to choose. The next one is the business vision. So I distinguish between 4 major winners. So most family-owned businesses are local specialists. So this is a quadrant, left bottom in this matrix. So they are focused on product niches in a region. This is the beginning, and for some family businesses which have not the bigger aspirations, it can be also second, third, fourth generation the way to go. But very often we see, and for example, in the Middle East, when we looked at the analysis of the top 100, the largest Middle East companies, we saw that more than 80% are regional heroes. They say they are stuck to the region, but they do many, many different businesses. They try to leverage the regional connections and the regional property. And they run from a representation of different car manufacturers, it's car dealership, through to hotel chains, rental cars, real estate companies. So these are broad assortments. For Southeast European companies, it's always a challenge to have the capital for these kind of regional heroes. So many Slovene companies, they immediately start, because also the national market is so small, to become international champions. And then they build in small product niches some international advantages where they can be global market leaders in those niches. The fourth one is the winner type, which is reserved for the large companies, for the rich companies, which are able to dominate total industries by mergers, acquisitions. We call this group of company industry shark. And now imagine you are the founder, you have developed a local specialist, but there is a potential for one of the other options. So it depends on how well educated and how broad the vision is of your successor, in which direction this company will go. So that's why I think this is also an important question. Beside the values we discussed before, also the strategic vision you have with your business. I give you now 4 examples of my projects. And the first one is Gebrüder Peters. So Mr. Peters, he was listening to my family business class at the university in Ingolstadt. And at that time, his company was in the 4th generation and only 50 million revenues large. And this company was a local specialist from generation to generation in the electricity technical service field. Today, 3 years later, he is the successor. So he is the leader of this company. The company is almost 3 times as large as it was, and was 2 times awarded as the fastest growing construction company in Germany in its size class. So what is special in this? Here you have, I would say, a combination of a local person with a perfectionist. So he was eager to learn, yeah, and he was also able to get the trust of his parents, who did not believe in the extreme growth potential of the company, but they let their son make the right steps. The second one is a much larger company. It's very famous here in Asia. It's the Indian Tata Motors. So this is a regional hero which today has huge size. So only one business, the automotive business, Tata Motors, has 35 billion euros of annual revenue. So they are competing with the largest brands. By now, not only regional, in some areas like Land Rover or Jaguar, they have a global brand already. So Tata Motors is part of the Tata family, founded in 1869, and it includes 7,000 employees. So it's really a big regional flagship. However, part of the ownership is already dispersed on the stock exchange, but 66% is still indirectly owned by the members of the Tata family through Tata Sons company. And here the 82 years old Ratan Tata, he's still present there, not in the operation, but in the strategic leadership. So also here we have this kind of high age. In order to run the family business, he acquired the appropriate education. So also he did an MBA, and he was believing in professional management. He hired professional managers for different business units. So for example, since 2016, the Tata Motors unit is run by German Günther Buczek. He was previously CEO of Airbus. So you see here, you don't have only to find a successor in your own family. Sometimes a professional manager, if the company is very complex, can be the right choice as well. Similar with BMW. So BMW is by now more than 100 years old. It's also run by a professional CEO outside the family. It's Oliver Zipse. He earned this position through a long career in BMW, where he started as a trainee in the development and then various management positions. He was also a successful technical director. So in 2018, BMW produced 2.5 million vehicles. And they have the Rolls-Royce brand, the Mini brand, BMW. So they are ranked only 15th in the world, but they are seen as a very profitable and a very successful company. So this is an international champion profile. This is also a good best practice for the family, because you see here, although the two owners of the family, they are not running the business, they earn probably more by engaging a professional manager than if they would try to manage by themselves, because it's very difficult to run such a big company. So this was quoted from the press. The two largest shareholders, so these are brother and sister, Stefan Quandt and Susanne Glatten, who together held 46 or 47% of BMW. They earned only dividends in 2018 of 600 million for Stefan and 540 million for Susanne. So more than 1 billion on dividends. So compared to a salary of the CEO, who gets 8.3 million, an annual compensation of 1 billion, I think there is a good payback on this. The last one is the industry shark, Volkswagen, also a German example. It's a family business in the 4th generation. So they are, together with Toyota, the largest in this industry, with 10.8 million vehicles sold. And they are not only in some niches, so they really carry the sports, luxury cars, everything what you can imagine, from Ducati motorcycles, Bugatti, Lamborghini, Porsche, Bentley, Audi, sports, luxury cars, Seat, Skoda, the classical Volkswagen, PKW. So this is a broad range of assortment. So that's why we say they are in the total global industry. And also here, the CEO is not a family member. He has earned his CEO leadership position through knowledge, but in this case, not within the Volkswagen Group. So he began his career back in 1989 with the head of maintenance of Robert Bosch, a supplier of both BMW and Volkswagen. Later, he became general manager of Bosch unit in Spain. He was also a consultant to BMW before he became member of the purchasing board, first in 2007 and then of the development board in 2012. So in 2015, he joined the Volkswagen Group as a member of the management board for the passenger cars. And now since 2019, he's the president of the entire Volkswagen Group. So although Volkswagen is 5 times bigger than BMW, the CEO's salary is like the salary in BMW, because there is a market price for these hired professional managers. And yeah, although there's a big difference in size, the skills are very close. So the skills for international champion or for the global industry shark, they are very similar. So why do I explain to this? Because you see different careers for different types. So the more local family career for the local specialist, already some professional external managers for business units together with the global leadership of the family owner in Tata, the regional hero. And I would say here, BMW and Volkswagen, they are really an example for external professional management where the family is not visible, but however, it's earning a lot through the professional management of these companies. Liliana, did you get any questions so far? So we make here a little bit question answer break.
Hello, so far no questions, so you can continue. I will let you know if we are going to have questions.
You have some questions because I'm quite quick.
Everything is fine.
Okay.
Not for now.
So the third one is the criteria for choosing a leader. So on the right side, I have, I would say, 4 criteria which I developed for a specific small group. So I published the book, Become the First in the World. So I published this in 2017. And here I described world market leaders with the 4 talents. So self-confidence, discipline, persuasiveness, and determination. So these 4, I would say, are some general, I would say, profiles of people who are more likely to become leaders in the markets. And some of my clients are like this because they read the book and they found themselves in this book. But there are much more technical criteria which will be shown now in the following slides. So according to the survey, which was done in Slovenia, 24% of the surveyed entrepreneurs have a university degree, which is not so high. 50% of them have a secondary professional or general education, and 26 have even a vocational education. So very good friends of mine, while I was studying to be a professor and consultant, they said, okay, we don't have time to study. We want to establish our own businesses. And I would say now, looking back, probably they have earned more than me in the life without this university. On the other side, the university knowledge helps you to structure and develop a bigger size of business. So it makes also sense to have this organizational on university language and education. But formal education is not a prerequisite to be a successful entrepreneur. It's a good springboard for further trainings and developments of modern management skills. And I see that many self-made entrepreneurs and family business leaders, they study a lot. So they don't have the university study, but they study a lot. They read and they are very precise in what they learn. So it does not mean that you don't have to learn if you are an entrepreneur. Some skills are very complex, so like statistical method, information systems, systematic analysis, concepts, work structuring, and these are, I would say, easier understood if you are trained. As well, the understanding of psychological and sociological rules needed to motivate and lead coworkers. However, entrepreneurs without an academic education can also acquire these skills by reading professional literature, by professional trainings, working with consultants. Only the desire for further education development is needed. In some companies where I worked as an executive, I found very talented people without the university degrees. And then I made the deal with the MBA that they might do an MBA study without having the normal bachelor and a master's degree. And that I succeeded in some ways for very talented people. So it also, this is an option that after a few years of entrepreneurial work, you make your MBA or a similar class. Regardless of formal education, entrepreneurs and business owners, they have to have leadership competences. And these are similar if you are running an ownership family or not. I distinguish those leadership competences in competences which focus on productivity, and those who focus on the positive work atmosphere. So the productivity driver, first is entrepreneurial thinking and action. So this is the ability to make decisions, transform challenges into business opportunities, take responsibility for risk and results. The second is ability to understand customer needs. This is the ability to listen to the customer, coordinate the wishes with possible professional solutions, take care of the quality of service, and build long-term relationships with customers. The third one is the ability to transfer the knowledge. Ability to mentor and adapt the way information knowledge are shared with others based on prior knowledge and understanding of the persons with whom the knowledge is shared. And the fourth is time management. Ability to punctual, organize your own work, set goals and daily priorities to achieve goals and monitor the progress and activities. For you, it will be fun to hear from a professor or consultant about time management because they are used to be worse than others in this. But for me, it's a very important part, the time management. Four more competencies which are driving productivity of business. Awareness of the importance for professional development. So ability to develop in the field of work, to discover new knowledge and new technical solutions, seek new knowledge and receive new information. So I was once traveling in the airplane with a client. It was about 2 o'clock in the night. It was a packaging company and he was sleeping. But then the stewardess brought us the meal. This person was 75 years old. So he woke up, looked at the box and said, oh, this type of box we have not started to produce yet, but that could be a good market potential. Can you imagine 2 o'clock in the night, 75 years old entrepreneur sleeping, and he wakes up by seeing a new business idea. So the sixth point is the positive attitude towards change. So the ability to recognize the changes as opportunities and solutions to face and adapt to change. So for this, I have a good saying. So this says, stay away from negative people. They see a problem for every solution. So I think this is the opposite of an entrepreneur, of a family business leader. So if you are a complicator, then better you go to a employed situation somewhere in the state-owned company. So the next one, innovation and creativity. Ability to explore and discover the unknown, seek for various alternative solutions and improvements, develop new useful products, services, and other original business solutions. And the last one, delegation. So this is hard for many founders of businesses. So ability to give clear instructions, transfer responsibilities, leadership competences, and delegate tasks to those employees who can be trusted and whom will perform the task in the best possible manner. So just today I had a meeting with a client who is a big businessman and still takes half an hour per week for every project in the company. And I said, okay, what will you do when you will have 500 projects? You will not have the half hour anymore. So the delegation here is important, and also the structure, how you organize that this delegation is possible. So productivity is not the only thing. We need positive atmosphere in companies. And I would say before we come to the criteria, yesterday I had a presentation to a German client and I made 25 interviews with their employees through all ranks. And I said, there is one common denominator. There are 5 family members in the business. I would say result of the interviews was people think that they are honest and that they hold the word. And it does not matter which of the family members, they are unique in this. So if you find something like this, and that this is in your next generation, this I think is a very important criteria. So the more formal criteria is here for positive atmosphere, communication skills, and public speaking. So as a leader, you need actively to listen, adjust the conversation, situation, separate people from problems, and negotiate. I have seen company privately owned where I had the meeting with the son and the father was very, very dominant. He knew an answer on any question and everything. And the son, he had a problem in the language, so not in the speaking language. So he was not able to say a sentence without interruption, but probably because the burden on him was so strong because the father was such a dominant person and knew everything better. So that's why I say if you want to build the next generation, they have to learn, have the chance to speak up. If they are not able to speak because the founder knows everything, it's very difficult to develop those skills. The second one is creating a culture of teamwork, ability to form and lead a team, build mutual trust in a relaxed atmosphere, design, coordinate, achieve common goals. So for me, this is also an important criteria and often asked in family-owned businesses how the children of the founder, how they behave to the normal people, to the normal employed managers, because that should be a teamwork approach. If you don't do this, there's a difficult to lead those people. Then creating positive interpersonal relationships, ability to understand the causes of different types of behavior, accept diversity, recognize the right to one's own opinion, and definitely the motivation. So ability to understand the needs, values, interests, goals, relationship of the individual, and take them into consideration in guiding and evaluating employees. I've seen here also negative practice. So I worked with a client who has built his own elevator so that when he came in the morning to the job, he could go directly to his office and not to see and to greet the people. So I think this is the opposite of what should be done. So you should, as a family business leader, you should like your employees, you should know them by name, greet them, speak with them, and build a relationship with them. So the positive atmosphere continues on this slide. So empathy and emotional intelligence. So this is the ability to emphasize with others, charisma, so ability to inspire, self-monitoring, ability to manage stressful situations, and also separation of private and business life. So for the self-monitoring, I can also talk about my own failures. So I have been once in a very stressful situation and I lost a client because of this and I could not handle the situation very good. So I was learning out of this, that also beside all the technical knowledge, the self-monitoring, self-control should be, for a good manager, should be an important task. So after these formal criteria, I would like to summarize the 4 alternatives for selecting a successor. So I help here with this matrix. We say it's a proactive choice or reactive succession. So reactive would mean that the founder dies or gets an accident in early years and somebody has to jump in. Proactive means that the founder is 62 years old and says, okay, I want to run this business until I'm 70. And the next 8 years, I will plan the succession. So the first 3 years, I will help my successor. And then the last 5 years, I will be still the chairman, but only supervising and not operational deciding anymore. And the other matrix side is that the successor is a family member or that the successor is outside the family. So the case that the successor is outside the family and is proactive, I call the strategic development case. So because successor is outside the family, for the family, this is high risk because they are never knowing whom they get and how loyal he is. On the other side, they have available time to prepare the succession. And once a person shows the character and builds the trust, I think even a member outside the family can be a very trustful person and lower the risk. So the option B, successful is a family member and there is a proactive choice. So the risk is smaller because of family trust on the paper. However, there is also available time to prepare because the skills have been there so that this successor can manage in a correct way. So this is, I would say, a formal distinctions, but this is how family owners sometimes think, because they would always prefer somebody from the family. But sometimes if there are not such skills available within the family, I think that the successor outside the family is a better option. So the restructuring case, the D, high risk, time pressure. So the successor is outside the family and we need him because there is a reactive succession necessary. So this is a restructuring. For these are professional managers, and usually if a company has a bad financial situation, this part would be required, or sometimes even the banks want that it is like it is. The crisis management is a little bit softer, can be done by family members if they are available. So from that side, it's low risk because these are trusted people. But again, time pressure, crisis management is needed. The question who from the family has the skills, but sometimes they take a consultant to help them through this period. Here are some examples from my clients. I told already about Bertelsmann. So Bertelsmann was a reactive succession and the successor was outside the family. They did it a few times and a few times they had bad luck. But now recently there is a stable development, but still the family succession is not possible anymore. So they have outside managers doing it. I've worked many years with the company Hip Baby Food. Successor is a family member, but there is a reactive succession case. So the question is, I would say, how does this work with the skill set? Because it's an international champion company, which has, I would say, very complex situation. And it is a question how this will work out. In the Conrad electronic case, this was very well planned. Werner Conrad, when he took over, he was 40 and something. His father was still a few years sitting in the office next to him. I had at the beginning the father, then the son to make the transition. That was my 10-year project there. And yes, so I think that they manage it in a good way. I'm now working with Meyer from Germany, which have, I would say, 3 successors. The youngest one, 25 years, I help get the right skills to be equal to the 2 elder who are already 35 and 37. The background of the elders is MBA, is consulting, so they are very well equipped. And I would say that the younger has now time to become equal. The parents are still there in the company, so the next few years they will be still there, but they give away slowly the responsibilities. And about the Volkswagen, BMW, Tata, and I added here Ferrari as well. So here we have professional management. These are all good companies, but they are all family owned. So this is also an example for this strategic development case. Right now, I would say concrete tips for selecting a successor. I distinguish here 2 different situations. So the first one is that the chosen successor does not see his family business as his passion. So this is sometimes the case. They want to become part of the new digital age. They want to make digital services, software business, and not the classical business like their father did. And yes, if this is the case, I would say train yourself as a manager and dedicate to a profession that makes you happy. To run a business, you only need a few hours per week. And once per month, you have to be in the supervisory board meeting, which is possible to do in addition to your core profession. You can choose always a business expert according to the objective criteria suitable to run a company. You can acquire consulting houses, specialize, so you don't have to waste your time for your family business if you don't want. You can be the supervisor. If you do not want to take on too much responsibilities in managing the company or professional training for company management, so does not please you, you can sell the company. So that's very often, there is no successor who likes to run the business. Yes, the company can be sold to a strategic buyer, there is a good money for it. And still, if you don't sell all the shares, you can actively participate in the supervisory board and you have professional management to run the company. Depending on the investor's offer and your personal desire for independent decision-making, you can sell either the minority stake and then retain the right to independent decision-making, or a majority stake, securing only the right to regular information about the company's business development. So there are many options, so don't spoil your life if you don't like to run this company. You just can use different roles. So a good friend of mine, he was making PhD in business administration. He then his mother died, he got his family business. 2 years he was running it. Every year he spent less time on it. And after 2 years he said, no, I want a different life. I want to be a consultant. And he sold the company. So this is also a decision. Why not? So if the successor sees in the family business his or her passion, then I would suggest that he starts to work in the company already as a child. And during the formal schooling and studies, get to know as many as possible work processes, co-workers, insights into the customers, competitors, and suppliers for your family business. So I was raised like this. My father was one of the founders of the household appliance company Gorenje. And I started to work there with 14 years. Every summer during the year, was there in different roles. So that can be a part, if you like this job, you can do it. In addition to your basic technical profession, you can also gain management and leadership knowledge, for example, through MBA program education. So many successors of family businesses, they are very well trained, MBAs, consulting companies, so international experience. Gain management experience outside the family business by working abroad and working for other companies, but in the same industry as yours. So this is the easiest way to achieve. This is to get a job in an international consulting company. Sometimes it's easier. Work there for a few years and participate in projects with leading companies in the same industry as your family business. When you take over the family business, get an experienced mentor so that you can consult with on a regular basis. Sometimes it's difficult to learn from your parents. It's easier to hire a professional trainer. So I have done this in several cases, and I was trying to build a bridge between the one and the second generation. Do not make all the decisions by yourself. Organize regular meetings of the supervisory board where you will coordinate strategic goals and investment with your co-owners and other family owners. At the same time, for individual businesses areas such as sales, development, production, procurement, finance, you can hire professional qualified staff, and that will help you to run this business. Now, my advice to the founder or existing head of the family business who will delegate now to his successor. So define and write down the values, vision, and clear criteria for running and managing the company. Listen to the wishes of your children or other priority candidates, and do not force them to become a successor if it is not a challenge for them. To run a company, choose an expert for your industry according to objective criteria. In choosing a company manager, you can easily find help in consulting houses, that specialize for this recruitment. During the transition period, which should not exceed 24 months, monitor the work and train your chosen successor by yourself. At the end of the transition period, take the role as a company leader and leave the operational management of the company to the chosen successors. If necessary, the successor can choose a new mentor, and you can step away from the role of the mentor and from operational decisions. If you're not satisfied with the work of your successor, establish strategic guidelines in the form of monthly meetings for the least 12 months before finding the new successor. So give a chance to repair before you give up. But in the end, you can sell your company if you don't trust your succession. So this is, I would say, what I wanted to say. And now I ask you, are you a suitable successor? Or do you have a suitable successor for your role? So thank you.
Thank you, Andrej. Thank you for your time management, as always. Thank you very much on these useful advices. Now we would like to open discussion. Please make this event interactive. We would like to hear if you have any questions, to share with us your comments. For now, we have one question from Atiana Mitic. Thank you, Atiana. Atiana asks, how the visibility of nepotism this diminishes in company culture? Are there any processes or recommendation to fix this issue?
So in my last session, so the first webinar, I think that nepotism was one of the top 7 issues I mentioned for family businesses. So to explain the word nepotism, that means that you prefer family members to other people. So the negative effect of nepotism is if you have good people in the company and you always prefer the family members, these good people will be demotivated and they will not do the rest or even try to find a career outside your company to get a fair chance. So that's why the professional managed family businesses, they define very, very clear criteria. So yesterday I was with my client in Germany and we have signed, so the client has signed a constitution where the criteria are very clearly stated. It's called family constitution, which qualifications somebody needs to manage a company. So they have many companies and everybody has a chance also as non-family member with this criteria to achieve this leadership position. So you will never achieve a board position in the family board on the ownership holding level as a non-family member in this kind of companies. But on the operation level, if you are good, you can become a CEO of a unit of a company. And in this role of CEO, you can find a very successful career. And this is the good way to do it. I also saw bad ways. It was a company where nepotism was very, very strongly. And then the son of the managing director, who was a family member, he was coming every day later to job than others. And how did another look at him and say, okay, he gets the same salary as we get, he has this job, but only because he's the son of the owner, he comes 2 hours later. So that cannot be. So, and then when it was about recruiting for a finance director, there were many good candidates in the market and we did interviews, but then they choose the mother of a friend of the daughter of the owner because they were friends. They know that this lady had a problem with the job and they say, okay, we will help her. She was not educated in the right way. She was not able to manage what she was given, but they accepted her because of this relationship. So this type of nepotism you can only avoid by having a clear procedure in the recruiting and also in the personal development, and that you have committees which work in a neutral way and that you lead by example. The best thing is if the family members qualify, because if they are the kind of benchmarks for others, I think then both interests, family interests and professional interests, are combined.
Okay, thank you very much for the answer. Andrej, we have another question from our guest Sonia Jovanovski. Welcome, Sonia. The question is, how to fight tradition in small family companies?
Maybe tradition is something good, so you don't have to fight. So I would first check if the success of this family business is because it's tradition. So many companies in the fifth generation, they would be proud of the tradition. They say we are longer than 100 years in the market and we are always known for highest quality, reliability, trust. So I would say tradition in a good sense, you should keep. What you should fight is that tradition is used as an excuse not to go with the flow. So if tradition means that you don't understand the younger customer groups and that you cannot adapt to these newer generations of customers, then it's suicide. So then this company will go out of the market. If tradition means that you are not becoming agile, quick in decisions, because some processes have always been done in a rigid way, so this is a negative. So that's why I say I would distinguish between the positive tradition and the negative tradition, because time changes and the companies have to adapt. On the other side, everybody trusts more a company which has survived a longer period, because that shows that it is strength financially, it has some sustainability, and I think this is a positive aspect.
Thank you, Andrej. Thank you, Sonia, for the question. One more question from our colleague Gordana. Thank you, Gordana. How much costs your mentorship per hour or package? How many hours you think is required in average?
So I always say I should not be a burden to anybody. And the easiest is that I say I should not cost more than the most expensive employee would get as a salary if I would help somebody to get into a real position. So for me, it's also an honor that I can add value and not be seen as a cost. So that's why I say I'm here very flexible. And in Southeast Europe, I know the budgets are very small. So I have two young students, or I would say they are now managers. So this company is called Euronova from Ljubljana. So one is still in the bachelor, so he's 22, and the older one, I think, is now 26 after his MBA. So now the second year with my mentorship, they are leading the company already. And they say, Andrej, we only need you once a month. Once a month, because then we don't have to ask our father, but we will ask you. And we said, okay, let's then meet once a month for 1 hour on the online. And I would say it's similar than Cotruli paid me for my speeches. So this is really not, cost should not be the issue. So there should be found a model which helps. But I would say in larger companies, like I give the examples, so it should be a regular coaching, because sometimes you really make decisions and it's easier for you to ask an external than you always ask for your parents, because then the parents will not stop leading you and the transition will never happen.
Okay, thank you, Andrej, very much. Thank you, Gordana. Any more questions? Any more thoughts? Somebody would like to share their own experiences in choosing a successor? Okay. Thank you for your participation. Thank you all for the attendance. Thank you, Andrej, for this very useful presentation. You will receive the follow-up from the presentation and webinar recording soon. We are very looking forward to have you in the next webinar. You will be notified in a timely manner about the final date and the topic. We were discussing with Andrej that it should be a family strategy. Andrej, would you like to add something for the end?
Yes, so maybe to talk about family strategies to get you incentivized to jump in. So family strategy means that you define for your family business who is the active part of the family, who is eligible to become the owner in this family business, and who then from this, according to which criteria, then is rewarded in which way, how potential conflicts are managed, what is the objective overall in wealth creation, in taking risks. Family strategies includes also the boards, so how the family should meet, the decisions can be transparent. It also includes, I would say, a training mechanism for family members, even if they are not educated managers, how they can help to control the wealth creation. So this is, I would say, a topic which is very broad and very rare. I see family businesses having it defined, and even more seldom having it written down and signed by the family members, so that they are all having the same understanding of how to run this family business.
Thank you very much, Andrej. Also, in the follow-up emails, you will have our contacts if you would like to hear any specific thing, and if you have any specific question regarding this presentation, previous presentations, or family strategies that we will prepare in future, please don't hesitate to write us. Andrej, once again, thank you very much for these useful tips and useful advices. We will talk soon. Until then, we wish you all the best in 2021. A lot of successes, both in business and private life. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you, Andrej, once again. Bye-bye.